You know what I saw today? Like
A Taiwanese bird of paradise.
No, but
strange for vetting.
a woodpecker.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it was so cute, and like it had like red kind of neck, and I don't know, it was really cool. And it
like
started
a proper,
pecking.
like Woody the woodpecker.
Yeah, literally, yeah. And it started pecking that tree over there, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. And I was on a business phone call, and I was like.
Does this business phone call know that I can see a cool bird?
Yeah, I was so close to be like, oh my god.
Just talking important shit. Was like, hang on, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. There's a fucking cool bird here.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know what woodpeckers were until I had to confront my mom about the cartoon Woody the Woodpecker. Because I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I was like, why did you have to confront your mom?
What the fuck is this? This can't be real. It's like, no, Kira, there's an animal that exists.
I only thought they existed in like the US.
Yeah, right?
You know how some birds or like whatever animals are just like in one place.
Yeah.
So I thought they were only in the US, and then like I actually saw one like a couple weeks ago with an Irish friend, and we were like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. Because you could hear the brrr, brrr, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
The German name for them is also really strange. It's
I bet.
It's Mausspeter, wood speaker. Or no, wall speaker.
Huh? That makes no sense.
As it speaks to the wall. I think this is probably from the time of when German houses were made of wood, probably. This is some peasant shit.
What a fucking weird.
But then so by and large, the animals available in Germany are about the same as the animals available in like Ireland.
Yeah.
And also a lot of Europe. Like there's just, your standards. Wren, a mole, a hedgehog, things of that nature. If it's in the Animals of Farthing Wood or whatever that show was called in your country, the pan-European show about like animals dying. We talked about the Animals of Farthing Wood. Did you watch that?
You guys told me about it, and I was like, this is the most traumatizing shit.
Yeah, animals. It's Game of Thrones shit. Like it's been in the mind cloud of ideas for a long time.
To talk about this traumatizing.
To talk about like how fucked European cartoons are, because it's like that and like Alfred J. Quack that has like the metaphor for racism in it, and like the Hitler Crow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then Animals of Farthing Wood has like the female pheasant dies in the third episode, and the like husband, the male pheasant, just like stays with her and dies with her and shit like that. And I was like there as like a 6-year-old and like, yeah, this is a cartoon.
Oh my god.
The animals talk. That's why.
That's the funny part. Yeah.
The audio does not match their lip movements at all because it was originally recorded in like French.
I feel like with animals, like in the south of Spain, in the south of Europe, it's different because like
absolutely.
I had never seen a fox until I moved to Dublin.
Yeah, they're rife. They're everywhere.
Oh my god, especially like in the suburbs and stuff. Like I would be walking home from the Lewis and like I would see like 5.
They come up to you. They're just like, hey, how's it going? When you have a good
session? And they just stare at you. And like, I really want to touch a fox, but like...
Oh no, you don't. They're covered in all sorts of diseases.
Oh, okay, well...
It's got mange for days.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not great. We had like foxes in our back garden that like... had made a little nest, made little baby foxes, and they were adorable.
That's so cute.
Yeah, but there was a lot of like, because the other problem is
weird diseases.
The other problem with Ireland is about flip a coin whenever you visit a vet if they're going to be like a farmer vet, and a farmer vet is just like,
okay,
what utility does this animal bring me? Does it bring none? Time to die. It's like, how much money can I get from this cow is kind of like the logic they underpin, and as soon as that like an animal becomes inconvenient or diseased, it's just like, well, time to bring out the cleaver.
Oh, Jesus.
That zero compassion. They've just decided that there was probably more money in being like a walk-in pet vet rather than a farm vet.
Yeah.
But they're trained as farm vets. So that's fun. But then like the one going to animals in Europe, and the difference is me and my wife, when we were like doing a kind of honeymoon thing after we got engaged, we went to Croatia, lovely country, but then we happened upon in the middle of Zadar, we happened upon the Snake Museum. Now, the Snake Museum was not legit. It was in someone's apartment.
Oh, no. Oh, hell no. Airbnb experience.
Yeah. No, my wife was just ecstatic, and like in the collection of photos of this trip is just her pointing at signs to the Snake Museum as we follow it into like...
I can picture that. Yeah, it's very on brand.
This old back when Zadar was owned by the Venetians era apartment block, just kind of like we go into the central square, go up the one step staircase into someone's apartment that has just been like, and we also got the impression that it was a traveling museum because it didn't look like everything was like permanently fixed, but the whole apartment had been filled to the brim with glass containers of various snakes.
Alive.
Oh yeah. And little plaques about like where they're from, and we very quickly learned by going around these plaques of like the snake line in Europe, of just like the line you can draw across Europe, and it's like there's snakes below this line, but there aren't snakes above the line. And I was like, you couldn't pay me enough to live in the snake part of Europe. And I was like,
is that just southern?
Europe? It slants a little bit. It's very similar to back then of what I called the holiday line of Europe, which is flying from Ireland. You could draw a line through Europe of cheap to fly to, expensive when you're there, expensive to fly to, cheap when you're there. Yeah. It's like, your Greece is expensive to fly to, but cheap when you're there.
Yep.
France is stupidly cheap to fly to,
and
but
expensive as hell.
Yeah. All of this is to say, hey. Welcome to your weekly corner, Späti, the animal chat. It's me, Ciarán, and I'm joined with Uma.
Hi.
Do we have a name for this coalition?
The woodpeckers.
Yeah, the woodpeckers. Go woodpeckers! It seems like a fucking American sports team.
I bet there's one that's called woodpeckers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
100%.
Pecker is slang in America for penis, so maybe they...
Is it?
Yeah, you're pecker. Yeah. Is that American or is that British?
I didn't know.
It's not Irish. I learned that from television. It sounds
more British,
doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? Having a pecker. It's fuck now that I've said it, isn't it? I've sucked the air of the room by going through my encyclopedic knowledge of dick terms. This is how I talk to people. It's upsetting.
Everyone hates Ciarán.
Everyone loves me, but I am tiring. The boundless fucking energy and just like weird obsessions that I have.
Honestly, I am so impressed at how much energy you have.
And speaking of weird obsession things, I have something to talk about today, because today is the auspicious holiday on the Ciarán calendar of Coca-Cola Roller Coaster Day.
Yep.
The anniversary of when Nickelback released a funk song for an inexplainable move by Nickelback.
Were they actually already famous?
Yeah, absolutely. This was only 8 years ago.
One of them was just like, guys.
We're doing a funk song.
Guys. Listen to me. I really need us to do a funk song.
And the music video is so great because it's like two very attractive ladies, but like they're walking through what is meant to be LA, clearly Vancouver. as they go into like a secret funk club at night. And then who should be playing but Canada's hottest funk band?
And they're all wearing sunglasses, aren't they?
Inside, yeah, they are. Nickelback are. The ladies are not, no. But they do have a costume change upon going into the club, as if to imply the club is magical.
The girls?
Yes, they're not. They're wearing typical like 2010s Canadian clothes, which is 2000s US clothes. Yeah, they look like people in like Gossip Girl, basically. That's a particular era.
Yeah.
And then they walk in and they're in kind of like not even funk clothes, but just like a dress made of sequins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Clubbing clothes.
Some club. Yeah, they've been dressed appropriately to meet the royalty of Canada. Nickelback.
Are they Canadian?
Yeah.
I'm learning so many things.
You're learning so many things. And then Ciarán's obsessive behavior, of course, he enters into his Google Calendar.
It's Coca-Cola roller coaster
day. Remind me every year that this song exists.
Oh my god.
And also, I spent a very, very long time trying to discern the lyrics, which I'm just going to read right now. Okay. I'm lying. I'm not reading them. I just know them off. I made it funny while Uma was drinking tea. That was a mistake. I'm sorry, Uma. Please don't choke. We have so much more podcast to record. But yeah, what is it? The chorus is funky little monkey. She's a twisted trickster. Everybody wants to be the sister's mister. Coca-Cola roller coaster. Love that rhythm though. I'm not supposed to. Now, for the longest time, I was trying to figure out what Coca-Cola roller coaster was.
Yeah, right? That's what I was going to ask.
Yes, like, absolutely.
I'm glad you asked.
Yes. Welcome to this meeting of the minds. What does Coca-Cola roller coaster is? Because your first intuition is drugs. You're talking about cocaine like a 60-year-old dad talks about cocaine.
Oh,
it has that kind of vibe. But then I've had some interviews, and Chad Kroeger is very insistent that it's a cocktail. Now, I would like to push back on that because I tried to find for the longest time the Coca-Cola roller coaster.
That does not sound
correct. I also don't know many cocktails that are named for the mixer rather than the alcohol. Like, yeah, right?
That makes no sense whatsoever.
At least rum and coke or something or whatever, as much as you can call that a cocktail and not just,
it's just
rum and coke.
It's a long drink.
A long drink.
Actually, as the partner of a bartender.
Yeah, we should have him on to talk about the Coca-Cola roller coaster. Maybe he knows what it is.
He'll be like, what the fuck are you?
He's gonna because he works nights and stuff, he'll be sleeping one of the day, and he'll be like, hey, what's a Coca-Cola roller coaster? Do you know?
And then when he actually wakes up, he's like, did you fucking ask me what a Coca-Cola?
Did I dream this?
No, honestly, that's like his first question whenever he wakes up. He's like, did I dream this or did you tell me?
I dreamt that Nickelback made a funk song. Is that real?
He wakes up in like cold sweat, like panting.
I'm slipping between realities. I've come from the utopia where everything's the same, but Nickelback didn't make a funk song. Yeah, so like...
And is that their only funk song?
Yes.
That is so random.
The mystery deepens. This is what I'm going to do after Corner Späti ends. I'm going to make my fucking NPR-style prestige podcast where I'm like, what the fuck happened here?
Honestly,
like... The plinky piano music plays, and I'm just like, I'm going to today ask the question, can a Canadian make funk?
It ends up being like the saddest fucking video ever. Yeah. It has like the saddest reason and everyone's crying at the end.
I'm going to assume some sort of Canadian arts funding was involved. Because this is why
I think so.
This is why like so many bands come from Canada. Okay. It's because they have that like law in place where something like 60% of airtime has to be dedicated to Canadian musicians. So that like a bunch of musicians get like famous in Canada and then like have a decent platform to go into the States. This is where Avril Lavigne comes from as well.
Yeah, she was married to the Nickelback guy.
Yeah, they hooked up. They're the only people in Canada. They're just like, well, I guess it's us.
Yes, we need to.
Yeah, I guess I'm so lonely. Let make this work.
It's fairly recent as well. It's 2015.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like way earlier.
No, right?
Vulture.com. Nickelback plays funk music now, apparently.
But you see, even that was wrong because they went immediately back to doing what they've always done.
Vice. Nickelback has a new song and it is a terrifying disco nightmare.
Yeah. Yep. And then also I got obsessed with the lady who also adds the chorus, because the chorus, after all the lines I just said, they're like, she keeps me up, I keep him up. There's a lady singing that, and I'm like, who are you?
They don't even credit the woman.
No. Well, that was very common. Like the lady who does the like singing in LMFAO's Party Rock.
Oh, yeah.
And people forget that the uncle and nephew...
Nephew, what the fuck, man? Don't even get me started on that.
It's like some MILF Manor shit going on there.
It's so fucking weird, man. Why are you singing about partying and sex with your fucking...
Yeah. MILF Manor next. They hate each other now, by the way. Blue Sky and Red Foo, as their stage names go.
They hate each other.
Oh yeah, there was there was a falling out. Yeah,
Damn it.
Miming a blowjob in front of each other for the music video shots really changed them.
Oh, Jesus, true.
Yeah, don't okay, we've moved from Nickelback's funk song onto what the fuck was up with LMFAO, which is another rabbit hole I've gone down. Anyway, proper corner Späti stuff's about to happen now. First thing we're probably going to talk about is, because it's Ciarán and Uma, we're going to do a recurring Ciarán and Uma segment. What the fuck's happening in Ireland? I'm also open to the fuck's happening in Spain segment. We haven't done enough of that, but we can do that.
No, we should definitely.
Yeah.
Comment if you want.
Hit the bell. Oh yeah. Also, the great thing happening on Twitter: everyone's turning against Mr. Beast, and by everyone I mean people on.
Oh my god! Did you see that video where he is like to the homeless person, "Do you care if I exploit you for views?" And obviously the homeless person who just got money or food or whatever is like, no, this is great. And it's like, see, homeless people don't care. But the thing is that besides that being disgusting, and he's just a disgusting person, the thing that creeps me out the most is that he talks without moving his mouth.
He's got a very terrifying presence.
He's terrifying.
Yeah.
He's just smiling awkwardly, being like, see, I'm friends with a homeless person. And he's not moving. He's like this. He's not moving. Oh, it's
Mr.
so
Beast
fucking weird.
Snuck up on me. I did not notice him until the when he kind of recreated
Squid Games. Same.
Yeah, and I was just like, who is this massive person in terms of views and subscribers and stuff? I was like, oh, okay. I guess we all live in Mr. Beast's world.
Yeah. Because he's a psychopath. Apparently he just did a shit ton of different kind of YouTube videos until he found something that people liked, and then he just stuck to that. It's so fucking weird. He just wanted to be YouTube famous.
I liked Alice from Trash Future had the very good point of the resentment towards Mr. Beast is really fascinating, because everything that's wrong with Mr. Beast is everything that's wrong with NGOs.
Yeah.
Just weird optics, we gave a bunch of people in South Africa shoes kind of thing. It's just this is just we put one guy's face to what NGOs do, and it's this is why we all hate it.
And then we all realize, we all hate NGOs.
Yeah. Okay. There's really wordy books and theses about explaining why NGOs aren't very functional, and now I just realized I just show people Mr. Beast. This is why it sucks, actually.
Who also has no chin, by the way. He's just a very creepy looking person.
You just have to give that up when you become a YouTuber, I think.
You have to give up a chin.
You sacrifice your chin on the plinth of Google somewhere in Sacramento.
Now he can grow a beard, so I guess that kind of saves him a little bit.
Oh yeah, guys, huge fan of that move. Just guys growing facial hair to hide their lack of... Yeah, absolutely. Honestly. Wait, do women know about that? Shit. Fuck. I must convene the council. Guys, they figured us out.
No, honestly, my partner, when he has a beard, he looks 30, and he's actually 25. Yeah. And when he doesn't, he looks 20. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what the fuck's happening in Ireland? Yeah. Because we haven't talked about this.
Not good things.
No. There's hope there, but it's not.
There is.
Yeah, it's not great. So people paying attention to the very particular part of Irish Twitter will know there's been a lot of anti-migrant protests, which one of the things we've talked about in the show a lot is especially in kind of liberal narratives, there's always this it couldn't happen here kind of exception. When the populism scare stuff happened in 2014, people really remarked on the fact that the populist far right isn't taking hold in Spain. Mm-hmm. And then
Plot twist.
one fateful Andalusian election later.
Yeah.
And like Ireland had always been a bit of a holdout in that regard. And to be fair, there hasn't been any successful attempt to politically capture this in like, there is no Irish Vox yet, or at least that has the same success as Vox. But these weird anti-refugee protests are kind of like taking place. Mm-hmm. The IFP and National Party are trying to build on this momentum.
Yeah.
They've been sending out a lot of weird pamphlets and stuff that are just kind of like fake.
Oh yeah, the one that was like, there's a curfew after 6 p.m.
Yeah, for women or something. For women,
because... And the thing is, they try to pass it, like, they're not saying this is a National Party pamphlet.
No.
It's like, this is your local council or whatever it is.
The Council for Integration or something.
Yeah. They're saying that women should not go out. Like, they're trying to police. Like, what women do because there's immigrants or refugees or whatever around. And it's like, who the fuck? Well, obviously, people believe that, but yeah, it's...
Yeah, well, that got popular online because they fucked up the Irish.
Oh, yeah.
To make it look official, they did like the English and Irish version, and the Irish was just like completely fucked. So it's fun being like, I'm the National Party that can't speak
Irish.
Of
course not.
It's embarrassing. Will that stop them? No. Absolutely not. Do
you think that an Irish person that like supports the National Party or whatever is just so nationalistic and like so pro... like Irish language that they see the shitty Irish and they're like, well, you fucking lost me there.
I'm a Stalinist now. Well, time to join a reading group. I don't know.
Time to join People Before Profit.
Yeah, it's finally happened.
After all the leaflets.
God damn it. It's one would hope.
Yeah.
With the far right in Ireland is also very weird because they also just do not know what to do or what they are. Like it gets like torn between I might be getting these confused, but like IFP, which is Irish Freedom Party or something like that, is very much trying to jump on the kind of like 2016 online right kind of thing of like, you know, groypers and Pepe memes and like doing the okay hand gesture and stuff like that, and like talking the same kind of stuff that like the far right in the UK does and the far right in the US does. And that doesn't work because you can't just transplant that stuff into a new context. The
National Party is more about
Franco.
It's like take our national identity to the fucking maximum and just like don't accept anybody who isn't like you and who doesn't accept that national identity, basically.
They're your kind of like...
And they're Catholics.
They're
Irish Franco.
They're Catholic nationalism, Catholic fascism.
Owen Duffy.
Owen Duffy, exactly.
Owen Duffy, basically.
Which is very funny because they've kind of like... There's been a couple of like accounts of people kind of shutting them down very quickly because they were doing the whole like pamphlets, quote, rape. That's one of those things that works written down, but I can't rape fugies. You know, have you ever seen that written down? Yeah. It sucks to say. It's not a good pun, and also it's not a good thing in general. That's the main moral stance, I guess.
That's the official stance of Cornish Späti.
The pun sucks, but like They're like big proponents of that bit. I'm pretty sure they were the ones who made that pamphlet that we were talking about.
They are.
And like it's really funny because they're just like, you can't women and children cannot be trusted around the refugees, but you know who they can be trusted around? The Catholic Church.
Right? Oh my god. It's like fucking what is there's a saying, the call is coming from inside the house?
Yeah, the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah. Like, dude, honestly. Like in every parish in Ireland, like a priest has been accused of something, and they're still like, oh no, you know.
And what we need to do is
leave the kids alone with the priest.
Yes, bringing back a curfew where we just leave our wives and children at the priest's house. So we drop them off at 9 p.m. We pick them up.
They open the Magdalene laundries again.
Ah, yeah, absolutely. Just bring it all back. It's great.
Just, yeah.
Like, that's also
the best of Irish history.
That's always been like my critique of. So the classic critique of fascism is just the whole like return shit, because the like returning to the past that wasn't probably real to begin with. Mm-hmm. In Ireland, doubly so. The Irish history is not like, I don't know when the golden age is meant to be. Like at least at one point Spain owned South America. Like there's like that kind of looks impressive on paper, even though like all the
I guess when you didn't let the Romans invade you. We're returning
all back to being Celtic druids.
Literally.
When guys would go to a hill and all fuck in a pile. None of it's coherent. Absolutely. When divorce happened, she would get to like, I don't know, stab you once or whatever, as according to Breton law or something. She gets half your stuff and she gets to stab you. She gets a free dig. This is what the court of druids is deciding.
No offense to Irish people, but like whenever someone asks me why I'm so invested or interested in Irish history, that's why I tell because your history sucks. Like you guys,
it's a lot of misery.
Yeah, it's a lot of misery. You went through so much shit, and I find that fascinating, and that's why I'm fascinated with Irish history.
Just Uma reading a big book about the Fly of the Earls, going lol.
No, Jesus. No, I'm like, oh, this is sad, but like interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
The shit. Why the fuck you're watching Last of Us? It's the same shit. Like,
exactly.
God, my God, the shit is super interesting though. For anyone who doesn't know, there's obviously groups fighting against this. There's United Against Racism. Mm-hmm. They've started a bunch of like local chapters, things like called like Tala for All, Dún Laoghaire for All, place name in Ireland for all. The big flashpoint, or at least what they thought would be the flashpoint, was Ballymun, which is a kind of like suburban area of Dublin that, in researching this, like I always knew it was very like poor, very working class. But in researching of this, I did not know that apparently like 1 out of every 5 homeless people in Dublin come from Ballymun.
Jesus.
So that's like ridiculous stats. Like I don't think anyone has those kind of figures for homelessness. Like all our homelessness are coming from one place kind of shit. So this is kind of where it's gone. It's also really weird because now the majority of refugees coming into Ireland are Ukrainian. Which is causing a conflict for these fascist groups because they are white refugees.
They're white, but still, a woman actually got put in prison for like 16 weeks, I believe, or something like that, because, I mean, it's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but like, she went into a hotel in Dublin that apparently is housing Ukrainian refugees. Right. And she started screaming that, like, why are these refugees in a hotel while she's in the street? And, like... which is fair enough, but then the problem is that she started screaming that, like, Ukrainians are, like, rapists and fascists and da-da-da-da. It's all
getting squashed together.
Exactly. Yeah. And
damn Ukrainians bringing Sharia law, like whatever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently she did that as like already when soon after Ireland started taking in Ukrainian refugees. So this was at least the second time that she like insulted Ukrainian refugees or like did this in a hotel. And she was arrested for like public disorder and stuff like that. And she has been put in jail for a couple of weeks, or 16 weeks or something like that. But that's the main problem. Like, you know, all these, the National Party and all these, like, even Tommy Robinson, who was, if you don't know him, he's like this horrible person from the UK.
Yes.
Anti-vax, like, but like conspiration, like, theories.
Yeah, and he came like he's anti-vax now, but he came up in the ranks like 2016 before that was even like the hot right wing thing to do. He was a kind of like
just a piece of shit before.
I think he's gonna start with like anti-refugee stuff as well. Actually,
probably.
in the UK,
I think he's like mainly like one of the biggest anti-refugees voices in the UK. Got banned from Twitter.
Yes.
Because of that and because of his anti-vax things during COVID.
Yeah.
Had beef with Owen Jones for whatever reason. Like just
every second British person who's like red in the face thinks they have beef with Owen Jones. Like, probably don't. It's all in their head, but like
exactly.
Owen Jones replies on Twitter are a dark place.
Oh God, Jesus! I know. I don't know how he handles. I don't even like him that much, but like I don't know how he handles. It's all
gotta be muted. That's all gotta be muted. Yeah.
But so he actually went to Ireland like a month ago or something like that, to visit the Irish patriots that are fighting against the refugees and like the immigrants and all these horrible people and whatever. But so what they say is that Ireland is full, right?
Yes.
That's why there's the counter argument of like Ireland is for all. Yeah. Ireland for all.
Ireland is distinctly not full. There was this thing that happened in the 1800s.
We don't like talking about it. But,
actually, I think we do like talking about it. It's called the famine.
But yes, they're all like, oh, Ireland is full because it is true that the Irish government does nothing to help homeless people and to battle homelessness.
Yeah.
So what they're doing, what Tommy Robinson and all these National Party people and like just right-wing fascist people in Ireland are doing is they're taking this problem that didn't bother them before. They didn't give a shit about homeless people.
No.
They probably think that they deserve to be homeless for whatever reason.
Yeah. Don't interrogate them too much on that.
Yeah. And now they're pretending that they care because they want to use them as like, an example of like, oh, we should be helping them, our people, our Irish patriots, our white people, and not all these refugees that have come now.
Yeah, no, it sucks, but it's like it's not a new tactic. We've seen this in several countries.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but like it is worth pointing out that like Ireland as a principle would not like sequester a hotel to put homeless people in.
Exactly.
Even though that would probably help a lot, or at least help some. Yeah. And like for anyone who doesn't know, the housing crisis is fucking ridiculous in Ireland. Did you see today that Leo Varadkar has officially registered as a landlord?
Can you believe like a Taoiseach, like the prime minister of a country, being a registered landlord?
Yeah, it's great.
And then you have to trust them to take care. Well, obviously you don't trust them with that, but like they are the ones who have to regulate the housing market and regulate all of that.
Yeah.
And of course they don't, because that would fuck them over.
But this has been a problem in Irish politics for a very, very long time. That like the majority of our TDs have been landlords, because it's basically with like Ireland's like comprador system rather than like having an actual capitalist class. It's the only way you can make fucking money. So if you're a rich person in Ireland, it's because you're a landlord. Maybe you started Fifes. I don't know. So like this has been like a common problem, and these like lying so much. Like this is why I was posting today on Twitter. I was just like, I'm going to dox the Taoiseach, because like I know other places he's owned and he's only registered one as being a landlord for. It's bad, and this is definitely pressure from something we haven't talked about in the podcast. But there is now like a proper investigative journalist outlet in Ireland called The Ditch, which has already we already have on record from like other outlets like the Irish Times and the Independent and stuff, that they've pissed off members of our parliament so much that they're like muttering about The Ditch under their breath, because they have exposed through like various like public records, but probably following hearsay initially as like investigation and then trying to prove it, that like several people from mostly Fianna Fáil, a little bit of Fine Gael and a little bit of Sinn Féin have been like landlords lying about their own housing situation to get benefits from the states.
Oh my God.
Lying about how much property they have and how much it's worth to like, you know, not
get
pay.
taxed.
Yeah, and to like not declare any of their, you know,
Assets.
yeah, any of the assets, because you do have to do that if you're a member of parliament. So like that is happening, and I do get the impression that a lot of people feel the like walls closing in, and
About time.
yeah, right.
Jesus.
But it's also like it is just putting down on paper something that I think every Irish person already knew, which is they're all landlords. Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean that's what you said. Like you take a look at the housing situation in Ireland, and you're like, yeah, someone must be, you know, someone in power must be making a lot of money with this, because like it makes absolutely no. It's literally a joke. Like you have landlords. Sorry. You're putting an ad for a room that you can only be in from like Monday to Friday because they want to have, I don't know, the house for themselves on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
You live with the landlord, and also like you are sleeping in a room that isn't bigger than my bathroom.
yeah.
And it's like $1,000 a month.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a Irish gimmick Twitter account of like just desperate things that have been uploaded to like daft.ie.
There is.
Is there?
Yeah. I've definitely seen it, and like it's just, but it's not even it's just depressing.
Yeah, like
it's fucking depressing going through it.
The apartment where your like bed is in the same room as the kitchen, and like you can't
your head is by the stove.
Yeah, you can't open the bathroom door without like hitting up against the bed.
Yep.
Because it's so funny sometimes they just insist on putting double beds in those spaces, because it's just like, could you not just get away with putting in a single bed? It's such a small space, and it's like you still insist on putting like a king size bed in here. And you're just like, why are you doing this? It's like no one will rent it if there's not a king size bed. And it's like, this is a weird situation. I feel like no one should rent this to begin with.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, there's a lot of resistance. McBarry, People Before Profit TD in Cork did mention that at the rally in Cork there was like a 1 to 5 discrepancy between like the far right anti-immigrant protests versus the counter protesters. Like there was 5 times as many as them, which is great. So
yeah, love that.
And again, I'll reiterate that like at the moment it kind of looks like no political party is really able to turn this into something more meaningful. And turn it in for now, and turn it into like actual political power. But anyway, now we get to the main topic. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about a European country that I'm kind of obsessed with, or I think is a very interesting country, and I don't think we've talked about before on this podcast.
Really?
No, I don't think so. Not in like any extensive period.
Fair enough.
Cyprus. We did mention it last week when we talked about the Russian video game that wants you to fuck the robots.
Atomic Heart.
Atomic Heart, yes. Yeah. They want you to fuck those robots.
Oh yeah. And they're sisters. It's weird. Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be. I don't know.
I know the spoiler. I'll tell you. It's weird. It's stupid. It's a very bad game. We talked about it already.
Doesn't Jensen Ackles voice the guy?
Does he? I have no idea who's voicing anyone. So. Yeah.
Like apparently it's very annoying to play because he keeps saying things.
That is true. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The voice acting is very bad. Okay. But that was it. That video game is made by a company that is headquartered in Nicosia, Cyprus. And I was like, Nick was like, is it a Russian company? I was like, I'll look it up. Mundfish, blah, blah, blah. Headquartered in Nicosia. Oh, it's a Russian company. Which gives you an indication of what Cyprus is, maybe. Because, yeah, I think we've jokingly referred to that Cyprus, like everyone in Europe gets one, right? You know, Germany has Liechtenstein, Spain has Andorra, France has Monaco. Yeah. Italy has San Marino. We all get one. Luxembourg is just playing the field. Yeah. And for Russia and also Israel and a handful of other countries in kind of like the Eastern Mediterranean, it's Cyprus. Yeah. But interestingly, I don't want to talk about the story now, that's a very recent development. And also, because we kind of think of these things, our understandings of these European countries as kind of being eternal. Like, I was reading a kind of compacted history of Luxembourg, and I did kind of forget that at one point Luxembourg wasn't just a tax haven, and it was turned into that very recently.
Okay.
It was like the 80s by Jean-Claude Juncker. He was like, before he became commission president, he was finance minister of Luxembourg, and he was the guy who like turned it into tax haven Luxembourg. And I was like, the fuck were they doing before that? Whenever you investigate like the traditional industries of these places, it's always fucked. Like Liechtenstein's traditional industries is like dentures and cat food.
What?
Yeah, it sounds like the worst smelling country in the world.
Right? Jesus Christ. Denture water and...
Well, presumably the dentures they make aren't used. they're brand new.
I know, but... Everyone in the country just uses dentures.
Yeah. Certified pre-used Liechtenstein dentures.
Oh, God.
Anyway. And also there was a presidential election in Cyprus.
Recently.
And that's a great excuse to talk about the country. Because Cyprus is like France, where the president actually matters. And it's not like one of our ceremonial presidents that we love, like Michael D. Higgins.
Oh, yeah.
Michael D. The D stands for dancing Higgins. Anyway, the election was a 2-round system held in February. And okay, we're going to get into the issue of the episode now, which is going to be a lot of Greek names that I don't really know how to pronounce.
I am ready.
All right, you want to take a look at this? Okay, so
Yes.
I'm going to say it once. And okay.
I'm nervous now.
Yeah, right. So the respectful thing to do is refer to these people by their last name. That's usually you introduce the whole name first, then you refer to them by their last name. That's practice.
Oh God, but
and also, but because it is the day after International Women's Day, and there is a tendency to refer to famous women and female politicians by their first name and not their last name, we're going to refer to these guys. Yeah, you ever noticed that?
saying Hillary instead of Hillary Clinton?
You say
or Clinton?
Yeah, but you'd never say Clinton by itself.
Because then it's Bill Clinton.
Yeah, but then like Ursula von der Leyen usually gets referred to as Ushi. The classic one is Rosa Luxemburg, actually.
Rosa.
Everyone calls her Rosa rather than like...
So weird.
Yeah.
You don't know her.
You don't know her.
Put some respect on her name.
Anyway, to counter that, and definitely not because these names are hard to pronounce, we're going to refer to these guys by their first names going forward.
Because feminism.
Because feminism. That's why we're doing it. And also we run into the problem of there's like, unfortunately, as Nick has pointed out before, there's like 12 guys' names in rotation in the Greek-speaking world. we will be dealing with 2 different Nikos.
Yeah, I was literally going to say there's already 2 Nikos.
Yeah. Okay, so the second round was against Nikos Christodoulis. Oh my God,
No.
Christo.
Wait.
Okay, go for it.
Nikos Christodoulis.
Oh, that's nice. That's
There
nice.
we go.
Yeah.
The
okay.
Spanish came out.
Who we will be referring to as Nikos.
Nikos won.
Nikos won. Nikos with a K, because the other one's Nikos with a C. It's fucking stupid country. He won the second round with very close 51.97% against... Oh my God.
Andreas Mavroyiannis.
Oh, okay, yeah. I recognize the Yanis part from Yanis Varoufakis. So, Mavroyiannis.
Mavroyiannis.
Yeah, Andreas Mavroyiannis, who we'll be calling Andreas from now on. He got 48.3%.
That was
0.03%.
close.
It was very, very close.
Yeah.
Both of these are independents.
Poofed.
With the big dividing line being Cypriot reunification. And this is when we get into, we should talk about that.
Okay.
So...
I'm ready.
1974, Turkey invades for a reason that kind of makes sense, which is the Greeks were trying to do a coup and annex the country.
And they wanted to protect the minority.
The Turkish minority. The long story short is Cyprus wasn't really very independent, and it was overseen by a tripartite of the Turkish government, the Greek government, and the British government. And
the British are fucking everywhere, aren't they?
They used to own this place. They still kind of do. We'll get to that.
Oh.
But the whole point was, the whole idea behind this treaty is we all agree that we kind of have like competing interests on this island. But if we all have equal say over what happens here, we can kind of keep each other in check. Okay. Is the idea. That was the idea behind this treaty. Okay. Obviously, terrible treaty because it completely removes the Cypriot people from any kind of like self-determination.
You do what we tell you to do, and that's about it. Thank you.
Which, like, they kind of had their own government back then, but it was like you have zero control over foreign policy kind of shit. What the fuck? And that government was like not working very well. Anyway, then in the 70s, towards the end of the military junta in Greece, Greece was doing this thing called a gnosis, which is Greek Anschluss, basically, where we're going to unite Greece with Cyprus into one Greece. It's going to be just big Greece.
Greece 2.0.
Yeah. And like the junta's attempt to do this kind of brings down the junta in Greece effectively, because like it was definitely like the last gasp of that junta. But they were kind of doing it by stealth, by basically backing these kind of like pro-Enosis candidates in Greek, like Cypriot internal politics. And Turkey was like, yo, this is bullshit. This is not what we agreed to in the treaty, etc., etc. We are concerned about the Turkish minority because the pro-Enosis candidates are like, yo, fuck the Turks. We're going to kill them all or whatever. And general take on is they had a very good reason to be angry. Invasion was probably not the answer. Yeah. And now we have the situation where the island is divided. There is the internationally recognized southern Cyprus. This is called Cyprus, Republic of Cyprus. And then in the north, there is the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is only recognized by Turkey. Which we can't do anything about because they're a NATO member. True. A classic. And so is Greece. It's a classic fuck situation. We probably shouldn't have let Turkey into NATO. But we needed to put nukes near to Moscow. You don't understand. So that's kind of where we are. And then the big dividing line in current Cypriot politics is how is reunification done? Okay. Because there's a lot of parties that are in favor of the Republic of Cyprus effectively just annexes the north. Fuck it. The Turkish Cypriots are a minority. They must like integrate. They have to like kowtow to our political will. Blah, blah, blah. And this opinion is held by like centrist liberals, far right, like Golden Dawn type parties, and even like one party that claims to be kind of like a Maoist party and stuff. Like, we'll talk about them later. You can see why I'm obsessed with this island.
Yeah. It's a mess.
It's a mess. But the two kind of default parties of this island are in favor of actually the kind of like what would usually be referred to as the Belgian option. Okay. Of like reunification happens, but it's a federation where there's like Turkish, Northern Cyprus self-determination, there's Southern Greek self-determination. It's a bi-communal federation is usually what it's called. And then like Nicosia would probably be like a city-state kind of thing in the middle, like Brussels is. And these two parties are the two parties we're probably going to talk about the most, because it's probably most important in the politics of the island, is AKL, the Communist Party of Cyprus, and which is like the default left-wing party of Cyprus, and DISY, DISY, which is like the center-right Christian Democracy Party. And this is like the only issue they agree on, basically. So DISY had a candidate in this election, presidential election, but he didn't make it past the first round. But the guy who won comes from their party, so they kind of effectively supported him, even though he ran as an independent.
Okay.
Nikos comes from their party. And AKL was the party who actually suggested Andreas be the candidate. He's like a diplomat. He has like pretty much no party allegiance, but he's like famous for being in like hour-long talks with the Turkish North Republic, trying to like make reunification happen. Okay. And they were trying to make this election about like pursuing reunification, rather than like the de facto separation kind of continues. So, and to show the power of ACL as like the Communist Party of Spain, Andreas nearly wins 48% of the vote, and the only backing that he got from a political party was ACL, whereas like every other political party backed Nikos. Officially got backing from like DICO, IDEC, DIPA, these are major parties. Kind of got like a quiet backing from Dizzy because they had their own candidate, but he's from their party, so they're like, yeah. And then the really far right, like Golden Dawn inspired Nationalist Party came out with a "we must stop ACL" kind of thing. So they
so it wasn't like we want this guy. We don't don't want the
we don't necessarily endorse Nikos, but we need you to stop Andreas. But it's exactly. There's two choices on the ballot. And I should probably mention that we're going to do the names game again. The Dizzy candidate was called Avarov Neofito. Let's go with that.
That sounds more Russian than Greek. Cypriot.
Yeah. That was the other thing. The richest guy in Cyprus, we've done this on the show before, is the guy who made the free-to-play online game World of Tanks. And he's from Belarus originally, but he moved the whole company to Nicosia.
No.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So he was the Dizzy candidate in the first round. He got 26.11% of the vote. He didn't make it through. But then, more concerningly, we have, again, one of the three names you're allowed to have as a guy in the Greek-speaking world, Christou.
His parents were like, I have a great name for us.
I know our last name's Christou, but
hear me out.
Hear me out. Fucking Christian over here. Chris Christensen. He was the candidate for Ilam, which is basically comes from the Golden Dawn Cypriot chapter spin-off. He got 6% of the vote in the first round, which is...
That's too much.
Yeah.
For...
And a bit of a chasm between him and the Dizzy candidate, but he's effectively come fourth in that first round. The two guys who made it through, the Dizzy candidate and then him. The Dizzy candidate was basically punished because they were the old government, they were the incumbent government, and they were like, we did an economic miracle, and we're about to talk about how that was bullshit. And everyone was like, this is bullshit, fuck you. But first we need to talk about the last time ACL was in power, which was 2008 to 2013. Great years for economic success. And this is kind of the problem. So they're basically blamed by the media for the 2008 financial crisis and the 2011 Euro crisis, which like Cyprus did suffer from as well. Not as much as like Greece, Spain, Italy and whatever, but still didn't do great. So we had back then a presidency by, let's do the name game again. Oh, where did I put this down?
You did not. Oh, yeah.
Did you find it?
Dimitris Christofias.
There's like 6 names. So Dimitris, he's running the government, and he then gets like this barrage by the media being like, you did this, you spent too much, you're not responsible. So we then get and this is still the attack on ACL. This was still the attack of like this election as well, of just like, you're not responsible for like taking, you're not a steady hand in the economy. Classic like thing whenever a left-wing party gets like close to power, they're not like responsible managers of capital. So this is obviously bullshit. For anyone who doesn't know the history of the 2008 financial crisis, it wasn't caused by this one Cypriot dude. A country the size of like Brooklyn effectively did not cause the global financial crisis. It's like Dimitris Christofias in his office just being like, I'm gonna fuck with American mortgages.
I'm I'm bored today.
I'm bored.
What can I do?
Here, my beautiful Eastern Mediterranean country, just stuffed after having like a 13-course mezza, just being like, you know what I'm gonna do? Yeah.
Like, I could have a siesta, or I could, fuck up the US.
God, I'm so lazy, but also want to destroy capitalism, which I'm assuming requires a bit of effort. Yep. Anyway, enter.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I see in your notes that The Guardian, the English newspaper, propagated this narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hate The Guardian. Oh my God, they have the worst op-eds.
Oh, and also, like, The Guardian is, like, really important in Cyprus as well because of...
British.
Yeah, well, the British bases, but also because of a phenomenon called London Sips. So, again...
What is that? Yeah. Do I want to know?
Did Ciarán just say a fucking slur?
What did you just call me?
Yeah, the fuck you just called me? Fuck you, buddy. So, the London Sips are a kind of like returned diaspora population of Cypriots.
Okay.
When the invasion happened, via the British bases that are on the island, a bunch of Greek Cypriots fled to London.
Oh, okay.
And then when things settled down again, they all kind of returned. But they've kind of been coming back in drips and drabs. And there's still, because of the bases and because of this like diaspora population that has returned after a generation or two, they only speak English.
Oh.
So, like, they still get their news from British outlets.
They're like expats, basically.
Yeah, but also with the passports and, like, with a name like Nikos Sofisilis.
Yeah.
But, like...
but then they don't speak Cypriot.
Yeah. So this is, like, a factor. And while we're on it, we should talk about the British bases on this island. The British bases on this island are fucking massive. You can see them from satellite views of the island.
Jesus. That's like in Menorca.
Yeah.
Right? Menorca, for those of you who don't know, it's like very small Spanish island. Near Mallorca, you probably do know Mallorca.
Mallorca is like Major Orca, and Minorca is like mini Orca.
No, it's Majorca and Minorca.
Yeah.
So it's like the big one and the small one.
I'm a savant. I'm an empath. I understand.
You know words.
I know words.
But when growing up, I would spend my summers there, and because my family's from there.
Yeah.
And there is like, I don't know, they're not British, sorry, they're American. But yeah, it's just like
it's an
very
American
weird.
base,
Yeah, they're American bases, and it's just very weird to see because it's like this ball, like massive satellite kind of thing. And like as a child, you're like, that's an alien base or something. Like that's just. And my mom would be like, no, that's just the Americans.
That's the Americans, yeah. So I've got for Uma's sake up here. I've got I can't really move the laptop, so you're gonna have to look. I've got the satellite map. Like Google Maps of Cyprus, right? Yeah. And you can see this kind of like DMZ line dividing the north from the south. That's fine or whatever. But this border down here that actually takes a huge chunk of a peninsula in the south.
Yes.
All that land is a British base.
What the
like it's like the size of like a.
To this day?
Yeah.
It's active?
Yeah, and there's like another one over here. This is what these little scraggly lines over here are.
What the fuck?
It's a massive like RAF base. The Suez Crisis was pretty much operated from here.
Jesus. But is it like so is it British soil? Like
Yeah, basically. I'm not entirely certain of the relationship because like if you are a Greek Cypriot, you can just like enter and like they do need the like labor force of Greek Cypriots to run the shops that like the soldiers use and things. But like a huge base. One of the things that came out from the Snowden leaks that doesn't go remarked upon is also that like massive CIA listening post for the Middle East in Cyprus as well through these like British bases.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Buddies.
But yeah, it's basically the UK, like the UK and by extension the US is kind of like main like base of operations for Middle East fuckery. And North Africa fuckery.
Jesus Christ.
Huge base. Like the size of like a political county in your country, probably.
Yeah, it looks fucking massive. Like
yeah, you can see it on Google Maps. Like you can actually see the dividing
lines.
line.
Yeah, that's insane.
So yeah, getting back to this island so fucking weird.
But you're enjoying it.
Genuinely so weird. And like one of the few places I've actually been to before, which we can get to later. But like so they're attacking them from like this economic perspective. And this is where we get our second Nikos of the story, but also the first chronologically, I guess, is Nikos Anastasiades.
What is it? Wait, let me see. Oh yeah, Nikos Anastasiades.
Yeah. So I think the thing...
It's like Anastasia.
Yeah, maybe.
And then this.
It's probably all references to some sort of Greek mythology that I am meant to know if I studied classics or something. But, you know, yeah.
I mean, I guess I was a Greek mythology kid, and I do not recall an Anastasia.
A lesser character, just like the Minotaur's buddy, just like his friend,
the Minotaur.
Yeah, his name was actually Nikos. Everyone just called him the Minotaur, but I was like, I'm more than just a Minotaur. Like, I've got a name, I've got a passion. I'm going to leave this 2-bit town, the labyrinth. Or whatever.
It's fucking killed by Perseus. Was it Perseus? No, it wasn't Perseus.
No, it was Nikos. It was killed by Nikos. Well, it was either Nikos or Christos. One or the other. Anyway, so this is where, so Nikos with a C, runs against our boy Demetrius of Akel. And he is actually a dizzy candidate. And he's in charge for a decade, from 2013 to 2023. He's the incumbent of the last election. It's like he got reelected. It's like 5-year terms, basically.
Oh, 5 year?
Yeah.
Jesus.
To kind of give an indication of like what was happening to the economy at the time, one of the big things the Troika came in and removed, which like Akel campaigns for the return of now, is it used to be in Cyprus before 2008 or 2011 that all wages in the country would rise with inflation.
Okay.
Yeah, which is like a huge thing that is like massive for like, you feel it when it's gone. I can tell you that much. Yeah. But now we get the government of Nikos. So first term he does kind of well for like the modest global recovery that happens after 2011 and in 2013 time. This is like, for anyone who doesn't remember, this is the time of like Netflix becomes the thing, Spotify becomes the thing, like a real rise of Silicon Valley. The economy's good again, baby. Woo. Yeah. we're gonna, it's all about the algorithm. It was before blockchain, it was before AI, ChatGPT. Everything was about, we're gonna give people such good Netflix recommendations that the economy's gonna work again and we'll all have money.
That's just how it works.
Yeah. You watched Friends is on Netflix.
And you forget you cannot afford food.
Yeah, your grandmother's working at Walmart as a greeter, but man, Friends is on Netflix.
The 10 seasons, baby.
All 10 seasons with the Two Towers edited out.
Wait, did they do that?
Yeah, they did that after 2001.
Oh my god.
And the like interstitial.
I learned such random facts with you.
Yeah, because like Friends was really popular after 9/11 because people wanted like comfort viewing. Yeah. But then like in the interstitial shots where they're showing New York, they had to like change it to all be shots without the Two Towers, even on like episodes filmed in like 1993 or whatever.
Oh my god.
I mean, like it was all actually filmed at a soundstage in California. Like
yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Anyway, so. Then we get into Disney was very good at successfully, like between 2013 2018, like the first term, convincing the people that like all the stuff they were doing was going to trickle down. An economic policy that famously works. Everyone listening knows trickle down economics works.
It is a fact. Don't look it up.
But
etc.
Nikos 2 comes along with Nikos 2. We've made a new Nikos. He comes along with a new ingenious scheme that's going to make Cyprus even more money, which is something that kind of existed before his time, but he's really going to ramp up, which is what if we sell our citizenship? So this is the CIP, or Citizenship by Investment Program. More usually referred to in international media for countries who do this, referred to as the Golden Passport.
Okay.
So this is, Malta still does this. The EU has kind of come in and tried to make Cyprus stop doing this, and we'll get into reasons why now. But this is the idea that if you meet some sort of financial goal or a threshold that the country has set, you can have citizenship. In Cyprus's case, it was a €1 million investment in real estate.
Okay.
Right? So solid investments in houses or whatever, that, like, if you spent €1 million in real estate, you can have a Cypriot passport, which we're not really going to use. We're going to move to Germany or whatever.
But
you have
it's EU. Yeah.
It's an EU passport, yeah, absolutely, which makes it even more attractive. Everything I'm about to say right now is basically still being done by Malta, so keep that in mind. However, the way that Nikos II did this was very corrupt. He basically made money for his inner circle of friends. Nikos...
Classic.
Yeah, classic. Nikos, by trade, is a lawyer. And his...
fuck off.
And his law firm handled all the expensive passport applications that occurred through this system. So he personally enriched himself via this system. He also personally enriched his son-in-law because his son-in-law handled all the real estate investments via his real estate company.
Wow. Must be nice having someone in politics.
Yeah, it must be nice. It's great.
Family member in politics.
So great for Nikos II and his son-in-law, which I'm going to assume is Nikos III.
Nikos Nikolai.
Yeah, which is one, a harsh reality of dating in the Greek-speaking world, and also two, a bit Freudian, but still, good for Nikos' daughter, I guess.
Oh god, yeah, no, I could never date someone with
your
the
dad's
same
name. Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'm just gonna have to say a completely different name in bed. When we're in the bedroom, you're Rupert.
Oh, imagine she's into saying dad. Ooh. No.
Anyway. Moving on to real verifiable stuff and not like aspersions we're casting about this person. This very rich and corrupt person. Anyway.
All these people have issues anyway.
A particular episode of this whole CIP program was that Nikos II and his family flew on a vacation to the Seychelles. Great normal place to go on vacation for.
From Cyprus.
Just go. You're doing the world tour of just fucked islands.
Jesus, yeah.
Next, I'm going to that one island in the middle of the Atlantic owned by the UK where they're all inbred to fuck because there's 11 people on the island. St. Tristan, I want to say. And also, if you get severely injured, it's 4 hours before a helicopter arrives to take you to
you might as well
somewhere
just die there.
Yeah, you're going to die there. Anyway, they
went to the Seychelles.
They went to the Seychelles. Widely believed he deposited a huge amount of ill-gotten gains in a Seychelles bank account because that's what the Seychelles also does. He did this though, his holiday vacation, on a private jet owned by a Saudi tycoon. And that Saudi tycoon, along with his entire family, were granted Cypriot citizenship. Not entirely certain if that Saudi ever bought $1 million's worth of real estate investment in Cyprus, but
it's hey, you can use my jet if you give me and my whole family citizenship.
It's me, member of the royal Saudi family. I really like a passport.
Man, and did he get away with it? Well, I guess.
Yeah. Because here's Nikos's. This is the step 2 of Nikos's great plan.
Oh yeah, he got reelected. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Step 2 of Nikos's great plan: fill the judiciary with a bunch of your mates who are also getting rich from this scheme.
Yeah.
Who then consider it laughable to ever investigate corruption in Cyprus.
Yeah. Jesus.
So yeah, but. Shortly after re-election in 2018 is when we start to see the negative effects of this scheme and everything else that Nikos II was doing. Rents skyrocket. So Limassol, which is the second city of Greek Cyprus, a population of 183,000, have rents higher now than Berlin.
What?
Yeah. And this is the town in Cyprus that I've been to. And let me tell you, no, it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Like, Cyprus, beautiful country. I had a great, like, Jack Daniel's roasted steak there once because
nice.
It's a tourism town. And, like, mezzas are great. I loved having a very jolly Greek Cypriot man just, like, constantly bring me food.
Yeah.
And most of it being fried cheese or whatever. But half of that city was also, like, fields that have gone fallow because they used to be owned by Turkish Cypriots, and after like the population exchange, the local Greek Cypriot population now considers that field cursed to build on because they hate each other that much, or at least like the nationalist ones do anyway.
Jesus Christ.
So like, I would not want to be paying Berlin rent to live there. I'll just tell you that much. Like, the point of a place like this in Southern Europe is you're meant to...
I don't want to pay Berlin rent.
I don't want to pay Berlin rent in Berlin. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, a lot of the investments are just complete bullshit. Mostly, like, monstrous near empty luxury apartment towers sit, like, just kind of, like, empty. And also, real big problem in a lot of major urban centers of Cyprus is congestion, because none of this money is going into public transport as the population grows. And is also needed because the real estate investments that are happening in city centers that lay empty for speculative purposes are pushing the actual Cypriot population into suburban parts of... and rural, because there's not really suburbs except for in Nicosia. Like, the rest is just, like, city, and then immediately, like, again... barren fields that have been left fallow because a Turk was there once. Like, it's stupid. It's so fucking stupid at points. Naturally, this keeps the consequences that we're all familiar with of being from, like, you know, Spain and Ireland, of like young people are staying at home with their family for longer and longer and longer, not leaving until they're like in their late 20s or 30s.
Until they can get married and like they can share the rent with someone, basically.
Maybe you can get married to Nikos's daughter. Maybe things won't work out with the real estate son-in-law and you can move into whatever palace she lives in now. And then like, but they're like, and there's not like a lot of work there because like none of this is like creating jobs or economic development. It's all purely like speculative capitalism of just like property on like a seaside resort. Cyprus is pretty dependent on tourism of all sorts of different types, like really, really dependent on Israeli marriage tourism. If you are gay in Israel or Palestine,
you can't get married.
You go to Cyprus to get married and then you come back. Because Israel will not let you get same-sex marriage in Israel, but they will recognize foreign same-sex marriages. And like Israel to Cyprus is like a 30-minute flight.
You can just swim.
Yeah. So
Jesus.
Other weird things that Nikos has done, he's allowed like sleazy forex companies to propagate, which is like a bunch of like basically scam like cold callers who try to convince people to invest in cryptocurrencies or like the foreign exchange market.
Jesus.
And this is operated by like these young people they're talking about if they speak English, because it's operated from Cyprus, but it's usually ringing people in the UK. Then the labor market has been deregulated to such an extent that it's ridiculous. One of the examples I found was lecturers and school teachers are no longer like employed. They are now considered legally self-employed service providers. So like if you're a lecturer for a college,
so fucking sad.
Yeah, you are not like employed with the college, and this cuts you out of things like social protections, healthcare, pension.
School teacher, man, Jesus Christ.
Pension contributions, things like that. Nikos very quickly within those 10 years turned Cyprus into a kleptocracy. Like the Cypriot economy before Nikos wasn't necessarily great. It was like falling into things like the tourism trap and stuff like that. But it wasn't this.
It wasn't this bad.
It wasn't this. He's also managed to consolidate the media around him during this time and turns the media into this kind of like far-right cheerleading kind of like stenographer of power. That's usually what these
like
things are
the
called.
UK media.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the great little stories that I know about Nikos as president, about like how much he's like bowed to foreign capital, particularly like this kind of investment strategy. As I mentioned, the Belarusian guy who invented World of Tanks and is like considered to be the Belarus's richest guy, and also like Cyprus's richest guy, or like Cyprus's second richest guy. I can't remember exactly. By bringing the company that makes World of Tanks to Nicosia, this was welcomed so much by Nikos as president that he gave up the presidential palace in Nicosia to make that the headquarters for World of Tanks.
What the?
And the presidential palace, which was always like a very like, it's not like a period, like it's not like a building from the late modern period or anything like that because of like the 1974 invasion or whatever. It's like a relatively new build.
Oh, okay.
But still,
yeah,
he gave up the fucking
It's
seat.
like the symbol of your presidency,
Like,
and you're giving it to
this is the island where
company.
This is the island where subtext goes to die. Like,
Yeah, honestly.
God fucking damn it.
Like if someone wrote that on like a movie or
Yeah, it's like,
you'd be like, oh come on, that's too obvious.
This is stupid.
Like, this is stupid.
The far right, like the far right capture of the media, or the right wing capture of the media, has also started propagating the flooding of Cyprus myth. Which is basically, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically what we were talking about at the top of the episode about what's happening in Ireland. Like they propagate this myth that there are too many people from Middle East and Africa coming, which is partially true. Cyprus is a big like asylum seeker destination, particularly for the EU. For like I said, it's a 3-minute swim. There are a lot of Palestinians who do actually arrive in Cyprus and things like that, and it's not great. And the processing centers there are terrible, and and a lot of them do try to move on to elsewhere in the European Union, but still, while they're there and waiting for their applications and stuff, it's a dire situation. But like they've used this to propagate the Great Replacement myth, basically, with the added local flavor of it's not like a cabal of. The myth says Jews, basically. like that's what the international version of the Great Replacement says. The Jewish people doing it. They'll use other terms or try to skirt the language, but But the Cypriot local flavor version of it is it's the Turks.
Once again, the Turks.
Even when it wasn't the Turks, I knew it was the Turks. Because like the myth goes that like, oh, they're trying to take the whole island, so they're bringing in Arabs, which are the same as Turks, and famously the Turks love Arabs. There's never been a contention there. Hey.
Jesus Christ.
And this is fueling the Elam, that party I was talking about earlier, the kind of like Golden Dawn Cypriot version.
Yeah, the fascists.
Anyway, this kind of comes tumbling down in about like 2021, 2022, when Al Jazeera runs a report on all of this corruption, draws a lot of attention, unwanted attention by the EU and international spectators, things that anyone who was probably paying attention knew, but now it's just kind of like undeniable and kind of embarrassing for the EU, so they're making efforts to try and stop it.
Yeah.
One of the people actually involved in the implication, in the corruption, was actually a member of ACL, the Communist Party. They were immediately like kicked out of the party, and and most people involved were from Dizzy, but like. And
I'm guessing they're still in their positions, right?
Yeah. They're still around in some capacity. They maybe been like shuffled around in some capacity to like
the priest. Like, we're just gonna send you to another church.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's led us to this election, and it's not great because the guy who's in charge now is also basically Dizzy, but unlike the Dizzy party structure that's kind of in favor of like Cypriot reunification because we think that Greek Cypriots are in a better economic position, and even if we give the Turkish Cypriots their own kind of like state in this new federal Cyprus, will still be the ones with all the money and power. That's the kind of like dizzy version of reunification. Whereas ACL is a bit more just like, and then we need to do something about like redistribution. And they also ACL wants to use reunification as an excuse to get like the Orthodox Church out of education.
Good.
Yeah, because that's very much poisoning them against ACL and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hope in terms of Cyprus and a lot of cool stuff that's been happening there is there's been a lot of mobilizations by the people and by ACL and forces to its left. There was a huge mobilization against land development on a protected like nature reserve called the Camas, which again is being fueled by this whole like CIP thing of do real estate investment. Where we're going to put that new real estate? How about on this nature reserve? Yeah. There's been mobilizations against high rent. There's been mobilizations against the British bases being there because, should also say, ACL and a lot of other parties are very in favor of like a non-alignment kind of like neutral Cyprus, which Cyprus as a state is neutral, but it has these huge British bases on the island. And yeah, that I should probably mention at this point the EDEC party, the party that like claims to be Maoist, but like recently has like voted against bringing in like an NHS cell system into Cyprus. And yeah, they mostly just seem to be like, do you want to call yourself left wing but then hate the Turks? Is kind of seems to be there. Yeah. But they were also a part of the like anti-British bases because they are like committedly non-aligned as well. There's been massive teachers and nurses strikes where that's been also being really hopeful as well, because there was like solidarity strikes by the nurses and teachers in the Turkish half as well, and they were releasing statements in support of the...
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I love worker solidarity.
Yeah. And then like... I've been making a lot of jokes about like we can't build here because a Turk was here once, but the vast majority of normal Cypriots, both Turkish and Greek Cypriots, do not care about this partition, do not particularly like this partition. It's just like a really awkward and historical thing. There was a huge strike by food delivery drivers by our old friends Volt, the Finnish company that now seems to own all food delivery in Europe, and also Kazakhstan.
For some random reason.
Their growth strategy was to expand into like Eastern Europe first before starting to move to like Western European countries. Anyway, but that was like the first example in Cyprus of like self-organized strikers without like a union, because there wasn't a union because they're all people who are migrants.
Asylum seekers.
ACL and the ACL aligned Union Federation did come out in support of those strikes, but like it's a big deal. And then there was a huge protest in early 2021 where a protest the week prior, a young woman had been nearly blinded by a water cannon that was provided by the Israeli government. Israel and Cyprus work quite close together.
Anyway.
What can I say?
No comment.
Yeah. This started like a huge protest with like 21,000 people, which is a lot for this tiny country, under the banner of Ostame, meaning enough. And this was a huge thing, protesting against the like corrupt government, the military-style curfews during the pandemic, and general ill treatment of asylum seekers. So yeah, pretty optimistic on those parts. But we did it. We did a Cyprus episode.
How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. This island is fucking insane.
It is. Jesus, I did not know any of that. And I am flabbergasted.
Yeah, because like, I'm going to be real. I knew this all started when I knew like a Cypriot person growing up, what in any other context would be called a London Cyp, but they just chose Ireland rather than London. And their family did anyway. Like these people were like born and raised in Ireland, they're Irish kind of thing, but like still it was like I met their grandparents once. I was just like, do not mention the invasion. I was like, I'm 15, I have no opinions of the invasion. There was an invasion.
Tell me about it.
I'd like, how am I going to say something wrong? I don't know anything. Like I'm going to walk into the conversation with his grandmother and be like, you know who rules the Turks? The Turkish government. Who I know lots about, 15-year-old Ciarán in 2006. Anyway, I just go with my full like Turkish flag t-shirt and I like big backpack with like an Ataturk sticker on the back. Just be like, that's right, I'm a Kemalist.
Your grandma just starts yelling at you in Cyprus.
I believe in a liberal Turkey that punishes the Cypriots and the Kurds. I don't see any contradiction with that at all.
In Ireland as well, like, Jesus Christ.
For every Kurdish person Ataturk shot, he educated 12 Turkish people how to write. And I think that's a trade-off that's worth it. That's Kemalism!
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this literacy program is fueled by blood.
Literally.
Oh, and with that was Corner Späti for a week. Yeah. I hope you bared with us this roller coaster, this Coca-Cola roller coaster.
Oh, no. You were waiting to say that, weren't you?
I was for all of 5 seconds, and I was like, here's an opportunity, bring it up again.
I saw your eyebrows showed up, and I'm like, oh no.
I said the word. And then all I can say is I'm going to shout out to Patreon, because we don't advertise the Patreon nearly enough, but if you donate money to us.
It does exist.
It does exist. And I think the episodes we've put behind there have been bangers recently.
And we've been pretty good about actually doing them.
We've been doing it. Don't say we're not doing it. If you do, it makes me sad, and I see it. I see you posting. No one posts about that. Everyone seems to like us. It's fine.
Oh, that's nice.
And we like you too. Engage in this parasocial relationship. Insert listener name here.
Who's your favorite host?
Yeah. Anyway, hit that bell button and we'll see you next time.
Jesus Christ. Bye-bye.
Ciao.